Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. Current events, headlines that are in the news, technology, social media, and items of interest that come up during the week worth having a little bit of a dialogue about. And we are very close to 5,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you are new, I want to welcome you guys here and consider clicking that watermark down there in the bottom right-hand corner to subscribe. So you guys will continue to get the Friday vlogs along with additional content here on the channel. There was a little bit of confusion and a little bit of discussion within the Battlefield 5 community over who was going to be able to play when. So we'll see if we can't break that down for you as we put this chart up here on the screen. And that is that premium access members for Origin were able to access the game. That is a yearly premium membership to Origin that allows people to access various different games on their kind of dashboard system they have and selections of games. And then you have the basic membership, which I think is a monthly membership. Those individuals could play for 10 hours, and then a sort of basic membership for Xbox members as well. So they were able to play for 10 hours also. And those who purchased the deluxe edition, like I did, we will be able to play on Thursday, November the 15th. And then those who purchased the standard edition will be able to play November the 20th. Now, this is not anything unusual within the gaming community. Of course, there's always going to be some grumblings among individuals over when they pay for what. And of course, there's always things going on in the background with Battlefield 5 over people, whether or not people were going to purchase certain packages and or the game at all. But nonetheless, that's kind of how it broke down. So it won't be until Thursday the 15th before I'm able to record any gameplay. But nonetheless, at least I'll have the deluxe edition. I'll be able to get in kind of early. So this time next week, perhaps we can talk a little bit about what my impressions were of Battlefield 5. So everyone is breathing a sigh of relief from this time last week as the midterms are now over. Now there are areas of contention still here in the state of Georgia. Brian Kemp and Stacey Abrams are still going back and forth over the victory, and that is that Stacey Abrams has now filed a lawsuit for a recount, although it has been outlined by Brian Kemp that the count has already completed, and he did gain more than 50% of the votes, so he is technically, by virtue of math, the governor of Georgia. Now, as we saw out in Arizona, after the recount, Senna, the Democrat, actually ended up winning, and then we have a bit of a fiasco down there in Florida. You would think that after 10 years, they would have been able to get that situated down there in Florida, but right now there's just some great deal of ugliness down there in Florida, and hopefully they'll be able to get some of that stuff sorted out. But nonetheless, what I do want to talk about today is I'm going to put up a graphic here on the screen for you guys to take a look at, and we're going to look at Gallup. Now, Gallup is a polling service here in the States that most people are familiar with and most likely have levels of trust about. And you'll hear about the Gallup Poll on the president's confidence levels and or popularity and these sorts of things. So if we take a look at it, we'll see that healthcare is something that most Americans are very concerned about, and that makes total sense. The economy, of course, which is also based on consumer confidence, the confidence of the United States. And when President Trump did become president, the economy and businesses and industry and all those, their confidence levels rise. So, of course, that is only natural that the response to that confidence is going to go up. Immigration, as you know, because we have discussed the caravan that is moving its way to the United States. Still, they anticipate it to be till like December, when it will finally get here. Way women are treated in U.S. society. So we kind of see the Me Too movement here, which is kind of suffering a little bit of a setback here. I saw Melissa Milano having a little bit of a disagreement over Sosor, who is a activist Muslim, and of course their association with Farrakhan and those kind of things. So we got a little bit of a tussle going on there over that when it comes to anti-Semitism and so forth. So that's interesting. Gun policy, not unusual considering what happened here in Pennsylvania, and then unfortunately there also in California. A lot of you guys do sometimes ask me about these things from time to time over gun policies because as many of you know, I am a gun owner. I am a licensed and trained individual. I went to school for firearm training. So there is that. Taxes, of course, that's always going to be a point of discussion. As a matter of fact, as of this recording right now, I just saw the Democrats give kind of their little bit of a spiel on what we can anticipate in January. We can talk about that a little later or maybe next week. All right, so foreign affairs, which is not unusual. I am a big proponent of Trump having gotten rid of TPP and renegotiating NAFTA, which is now the UMA or U something or UCA, something like that. Was it United States, Canada, and Mexico? Maybe UCM, something like that, something to that effect. I apologize for that, that I didn't have the exact wording of that. And then we have way income and wealth are distributed in the U.S. Of course, this is more of a issue that we could see more of our liberal friends being more concerned about. And I say that kind of in a way that it's like, you know, we're a constitutional republic here in the United States, and we practice capitalism and a free market system, which in its design, in its technical design, if you want to look at it from an economic standpoint, is incompatible with a socialist type distribution system. It is, of course, it does facilitate money because it is a capitalistic system and a free market system, so obviously it is going to be a good money generator. And so, of course, people that have a social mindset or socialist mindset are going to see, oh, wow, what a wonderful opportunity for us to take advantage of this system. So it isn't even socialism that really is the mechanism that drives the ability to obtain the income. It is the fact that capitalism and the free market system generates the income. Sometimes people get lost over that ideology, and of course there's all kinds of back and forth over that. And then the recent confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, I think this, as we discussed, was a pivotal moment for both Democrats and Republicans. I think this kind of really went in favor of Republicans, and I'm really kind of saddened by the fact that this was politicized the way that it was and turned into a melodrama, because a confirmation hearing is not a court of law. So when they brought out the assault victim there, right? So it really was a really kind of an ugly situation. I think that was handled very poorly, and we're learning more and more about these individuals that came forth to testify. Their information was inaccurate. I apologize for leaving out certain terms and things because of AI filtering there at YouTube, but I could have said Christine, of course. All right, so here we go, the recent confirmation. Okay, we said that. U.S. trade and tariff policies, because we talked about TPP, we talked about NAFTA. We're also talking about deals with China and Europe and the EU. I am not a fan of the EU in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how in the world a country can decide that it wants to give up its sovereignty to be able to have travel and education and visitation capabilities within Europe. I mean, why in the world would you want to give that up and then have a body within a European state there in Brussels control what goes on in your sovereign country? It's just that doesn't compute for me. Not just to be able to vacation, work, and go to school in foreign countries. To be able to give up that level of freedom to where they can say where you can fish, where you can't fish, what kind of commerce you can do, what kind of commerce you can do, how to maintain your household through using whatever types of environmental. That's a whole other subject. All right, and then we have climate change, which is near the bottom of the list. Now, when it comes to climate change, the thing here is that scientists don't always all agree on this. So when you hear about, oh, well, Trump should listen more to the scientists, or individuals should listen more to scientists, well, as many scientists as you can come up with that can talk about climate change, there are those that can also say, hey, climate change is actually this, or it's actually that, or we're not seeing the levels of evidence that are being suggested here. So that is obviously going to be a point of contention because it's an ideological issue also. And then investigate into Russian involvement in the 2016 U.S. election. This is, to me, in my opinion, it's a farce. We've already seen across the spectrum. The NSA said, look, we have no information on this happening. The NSA and other groups within the authority of the United States government said, hey, look, there's really nothing here. We have nothing here. And we're going to find out that there really isn't. And I was anticipating Mueller coming out with his report at least as early as last week. But we will eventually get the report, and it will clarify that there was no Russian collusion. Now, here's the other thing. Now, if you're an American citizen, then you know that during the news cycle during the day, or when you watch your afternoon or nightly news, there is a political ad every 7 to 13 minutes on television. They go on radio, they go on television, they go in print, they go everywhere, they go on the internet. So the idea that maybe a handful of Russians purchase ads on Facebook that were able to affect an election is absurd. The idea that just a few little Russians placing ads on Facebook was able to... Now, I would argue that you could affect a local election because, as we talked about last week, when I mentioned a race that took place out west 2 years ago, it came down to 167 votes. So yes, Google knows this, Facebook knows this, Twitter knows this. The tech giants know these types of influences can affect people. And this is why they're kind of really trying to crack down on what they call fake news and or misleading information. And even satirical sites are also the butt end of suspensions and criticism from some of these tech giants because it's misleading to some people. And of course, you have the normie environment there on Facebook that kind of takes things as if it were almost real, and the behavior and so forth and so on is kind of comical to me when people react the way they do. But nonetheless, guys, okay, so there's your midterm update based on polls from Gallup. But I did want to cover those because I found those very interesting as far as what Americans are actually interested in, because I want you guys to have a base. I want you guys to have a reference so you guys can see like how the media reports news, what they're focused on, and what the American mindset is, because there is a disparity between what certain groups of individuals are really focused on and what others want you to focus on. But these are the things that Americans are concerned about, of course. Healthcare, the economy, immigration, the treating of women here in our society, gun policies, and taxes. So there you have it. You have the entire list there. I will leave a link down there for you guys in the published section below. And this week we learned of the passing of Stan Lee. Some people may not recognize his name or recognize his face, but what they will recognize is the characters, heroes, and villains that he created with Marvel. And he was an amazing writer. I do enjoy his work. Now, I grew up and I wasn't really much of a comic book fan. My friends and my family were. I did watch the Spider-Man comic series as a kid, and of course the Hulk with Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. I did enjoy that series as well, which were creations of Stan Lee, along with many other hero characters you guys are familiar with from the Avengers. And as in recent years, we have seen many of the Avenger movies and the independent ones of Thor and Iron Man, for example, and those were very enjoyable. I mean, I've always liked the writing style of Marvel. I've always enjoyed and appreciated and valued their wit, their cleverness, and the way all that was written. And Stan Lee is without a doubt an icon, not only in the United States, but around the world. So we will miss his passing, and all those fans from Dragon Con, of course, and Comic Con and other cons throughout the country, these were all based on comic books, and Stan Lee was a huge part of that organization. As a matter of fact, you could say that he really made all these characters incredibly relevant throughout all these years. It was these characters are something that everyone could relate to from when he first started all the way up until today. This may explain why there's so many of the movies out there from Hollywood, because it is a group of individuals, a wide-ranging group of individuals that can appreciate, recognize, and value his work. So Stan Lee, thank you for everything you did for the comic book industry and just as a human being. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. And as I mentioned in the intro there, we are very close to 5,000 subscribers, so I'm very excited about that. Thank you to all those who have come here from the Lost History channel. Your guys' support and participation here on the channel is greatly appreciated as well. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click on that watermark right there. That would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen to subscribe so we can get to that 5,000 mark. And be sure to click that bell there so you guys can select the notification that you desire if you want to be notified when the next Friday vlogs are up or other content here on the channel. And I will see you guys next week.